Let's speak now live to Kate, who's live for us in Washington this evening. Kate, good to see you. So, 100 days of a second Trump administration. How are Americans feeling about his second coming?
Well, it's not looking too good for President Trump when it comes to the opinion polls. His approval ratings have plunged at this 100-day mark. Some of them the worst for the last several years when it comes to presidential approval ratings. And also, not just on how he's doing the job, but ratings have fallen on how he's doing things like handling the economy, which is, of course, one of the major things that he ran on and campaigned on. And a lot of people said they supported him because they believed that he knew how to handle the US economy well. But now it seems fewer and fewer voters agree with that, and his approval ratings are going down. Having said that, when it comes to his hardcore fan base, his the Make America Great Again supporter base that he's relied on so much, the people that were at his rally in Detroit last night, they still are 100% behind him and, are pleased with how he's enacting the policies that he promised to do so on the campaign trail.
And he believes, nonetheless, that he's done a fabulous job in these first few months of his presidency.
Yeah, he has been talking about all the achievements. He said that no president has ever done as much as he has. And perhaps that is arguably true, given the fact that it is probably one of the busiest first 100-day periods in recent history of the US presidency. I think he signed 137 executive orders already. But yeah, Donald Trump saying how proud he is of what he's achieved. He spent yesterday reposting lots and lots of different people writing or talking about what he sees as his achievements. He spent that rally last night in Detroit going over all the things that he said that he's done already and that he's proud of, and saying we're only just getting started. Nothing will stop me. There's more to come. So he is certainly ignoring any lowering of the polls. Today we just had news that the US GDP has dropped by 0.3%. But Donald Trump is blaming that on his predecessor, on President Joe Biden, and saying that what he's doing is going well and he's proud of it and it's what his voters wanted. So he's ignoring polls, he's ignoring dropping GDP numbers, and he is still continuing to talk about himself and his achievements in a very positive light.
Let's move on then to the relationship between Washington and Pretoria, because the relationship between the two countries, South Africa and the United States, has been tense, to put it mildly. Among the points of contention is South Africa's position taking Israel to the International Court of Justice for alleged genocide in Gaza. There is the relationship with Iran, which the Americans aren't fond of. There are also these false claims of an alleged white genocide being committed in South Africa by the government of the day. They disagree on policy positions, including the expropriation of land without compensation, even though that legislation contains a clause that says a court would also have to be involved and there would be negotiation with the seller before any land is then taken. Now we know that Presidents Trump and Ramaphosa have spoken recently. Does that suggest that there's a genuine thaw in relations and that we might soon see a meeting?
I mean, I think any time we hear that there has been dialogue, it is a positive situation. Although Donald Trump, the White House, haven't really given us any information about what was on that phone call that you're speaking about. But the fact that it happened, I think, can be seen as a positive move forward, given the fact that relations, as you describe, are really at rock bottom. And, it's the G20. It's the year that South Africa is hosting the G20. They will be hoping that President Trump will be coming to visit the country and take part in those leaders' meetings in November. I spoke to Cyril Ramaphosa at the G20 in Brazil just last year in Rio de Janeiro, and I asked him, are you expecting to see Donald Trump in Johannesburg next year? And he was like, yes, absolutely, he will be there. We'll even play a round of golf together. So certainly since that point, relations have dipped. But Donald Trump is all about these personal connections, and the fact that he's speaking to the President Ramaphosa on the telephone is a positive, because that is when things do usually start to move forward with him. And of course, there's the issue of trade and tariff negotiations. So there will be some kind of negotiations ongoing. The finance minister just spoke to my colleague Nick Harper last week at the IMF spring meetings and said that he was confident that there would be a deal before the 90-day tariff pause, which again suggests that there are negotiations going on between the South Africans and the Americans when it comes to trade, and that there is hope that this relationship can improve, and that these issues like Israel and Gaza and the Land Expropriation Act can somehow be worked through.
And is there a sense, perhaps in Washington, perhaps among the politicians there, that the relationship with South Africa is one that is so important that it cannot afford to be lost?
Well, certainly, being the largest country in continental Africa, it's a hugely important relationship between Pretoria and Washington. And there are a lot as well of members of Congress who are, big friends of South Africa and do not want to see this relationship in the situation it is at the moment. I think one of the concerns, though, is that Donald Trump is very much an isolationist leader. He has made he's made it very clear that he believes that he wants to put America first. That's his agenda, America first. He is less interested in making big relationships with other countries, certainly less interested in multilateral organizations like the G20. And he does favor these one-on-one bilateral relationships, which is, I think, perhaps where South Africa can make inroads. But he hasn't visited Africa, the continent, himself as president. He doesn't appear to have, in the way past presidents perhaps have spoken about the importance of the African continent, the youngest, fastest growing continent in the world, as a huge opportunity for growth and investment. He doesn't speak in the same way as previous presidents have done on that. But with Donald Trump, it's all about a deal. And if he can continue speaking with President Ramaphosa, who knows what that could bring out in the end. But at the moment, I think they just have these big roadblocks to overcome, not least the fact that at the moment there is not a South African ambassador here in Washington to be advocating on behalf of the country in the White House and with lawmakers here as well.
SABC News correspondent Kate Fisher. Good to talk to you, Kate. Thank you.